Well, I'm not going back to jail, so cheers to that. Yesterday's video, I'd mentioned how my past had come back to haunt me, and when I say my past, my record. Back in 2016, I had gotten arrested. The initial charges were pretty heavy for somebody who didn't have uh, a record to begin with. I was looking at like three or four felonies, and it was really gonna affect my life. And I told my attorney, who my aunt is a paralegal, so it's the attorney she works for. Both very beautiful people, awesome people. She's helped me out more times than she should have. He's gotten me out of more trouble than he should have. My poor aunt, it seems like I only call her anytime I'm in trouble or somebody else I know is in trouble and needs a good attorney. I need to get better about that for sure. But so I was looking at some felonies, some possession while armed, some stuff that was going to really affect my life for the long term. And I told my attorney at the time that I can't get stuck with these felonies. I'm going to lose my right to vote. I'm going to lose my right to buy firearms. I'm not going to be able to coach my kid's soccer team. You have to do background check to be coach. I'm going to lose my right to get a hunting license. Like I can't get stuck with these felonies. So luckily he was able to talk everything down, plead everything down to what I thought up until yesterday was only a misdemeanor DUI. And then turns out I also have a firearms, carrying a loaded firearm in public is on there. So we had gotten my record expunged after I did all my probation and paid all the fees and did my DUI classes, everything like that. We'd gotten my record expunged. So I thought that there was nothing on my record. I thought we were free and clear. I've passed background checks since then for I coach my son's baseball team now. So I've done background checks since then, and it's never gotten kicked back, or there's never been an issue with anything. So I thought I was good. Well, back in 2020, after the election, there was a company that, you guys remember the whole Joe Biden, let's go Brandon debacle, the F Joe Biden, let's go Brandon whole thing. Well, some company had made some lower receivers for AR-15s that had that on there, said like FJB or let's go Brandon or something silly on there, and I had ordered one, and it went to an FFL where I went to go buy it. You got to fill out a 4473, which is the background check, and it got delayed. Now, at the time, I was way more vocal on Twitter. New administration had come in. I thought it had something to do with political things, because in my head, my background check or my record had been expunged. So I thought there should be no reason why this is getting delayed. So I was kind of like, little iffy about it. I was like, okay, so it's delayed. What do we do? He said, well, after 3 days, if they don't give us an answer, yes or no, you can take the firearm. But if in the next 30 days they say they kick it back, you have to bring it back. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get that phone call and have to bring this back. Mind you, in my head, I think it has something to do with what's written on the firearm or what's engraved on it or something else, like far as that goes. And I kind of forget about it. Honestly, I was like, whatever, 30 days, it's a month. And I kind of, it just went out of my mind. And then I would stop by there after that 30 days and I was like, hey, what happened with that? And they're like, well, now you got to do another background check. And I was like, yeah, I was a little reluctant. So whatever, I forget about it. And since then, I haven't tried to buy any firearms through an FFL. No big deal. Well, over this past weekend, I go buy another firearm, and the same thing happens. It gets delayed. Now, on the 4473, it asks you if you've ever been charged with a misdemeanor. And before going, because I had remembered what happened in 2020, I was like, maybe my record's not clear. Maybe there's something on there that's showing up that is causing this. So in my head though, I look up if you've been charged with a misdemeanor but it's been expunged, how do you answer that question? And it says you can answer no, that you've never been charged with a misdemeanor if it's been expunged off your record. So I answer no on that question, and it gets delayed. So now in my head, I'm thinking I answered this question wrong. And that's a crime. It's a federal crime, lying on a federal document. In fact, that's what Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was charged with. One of the other questions is, are you a drug user? And he had answered no, he wasn't a drug user when he was using drugs at the time. So he got charged for lying on that form. So now I'm stressed out. I'm like, did I answer that wrong? And the delay is now they're looking into me more for lying on this document. Am I going to get a knock at the door? The FBI wants to talk to me, or ATF wants to talk to me? Am I going to get charged with more stuff because I have been arrested now and I do have a record? So I was pretty stressed out about this whole deal. So I call my aunt. Poor thing. Like I said, I always call her when I'm in trouble. She's a paralegal. So I said, hey, did we or did we not get my record expunged? And she said, no, yeah, we did it. And in my head, I remember when we did it, there was like $150 fee for something, like to get the records or something silly that I thought we had never paid. Actually, I'm pretty sure we never paid it. So my aunt, her attorney now has moved on from petty drug crimes to big murder trials, and she said, I'll take a look when I can. So now I'm stressed out. I'm, researching on the internet, figuring out who to call, who to talk to. There's a lot of information about, if it's delayed, it could be, all these different things. You can, call the ATF or the FBI and try to get to the bottom of it and figure out what you can do so this kind of thing doesn't happen, yada, yada, yada. And I was pretty stressed out yesterday. In fact, if I had made this video yesterday, it would have a very different tone. So my aunt gets back to me and she pulls up all my stuff and she's like, no, it's expunged. We got it expunged off your record. That $150 fee was like a dismissal, like document, something. So she sends me over, she sent emails over all my information, all my documents, all my, everything. And my wife calls the courthouse to double check, right? She waits on the phone for 2 hours and finally talks to someone. And the person on the phone says, yeah, everything's expunged off your record. However, California doesn't remove it from your record. It shows expunged, but it doesn't come off your record. In order to do that, you have to get your attorney or to come down here and fill out some paperwork and get it sealed. So now in my head, I'm still thinking, okay, well, now I lied. Now I lied on that document because it's still showing on my record that I do have misdemeanors, but they've been expunged. So, and that $150, the lady on the phone said we had paid that fee, which I don't think we did, but my wife insists that we did. Anyways, So now I'm still stressed. I'm like, okay, great. Well, then I lied on that question. I lied on this question. So I call the firearms dealership where I was buying the gun from, and I said, hey, can I get my background check number and who to contact about this? Because online it says you can say, hey, I may have answered this question wrong. Can I fix it in the system or something? So I'm trying to get a hold of someone. I'm like panicking before I get in any more trouble, before I get a knock at the door. I'm panicking. And we talked to a guy who says, well, if he answered the question wrong, they would have kicked it back. Immediately, it would have got kicked back. He said, chances are the reason why it's getting delayed is because it is showing up on his record. It is dismissed, but they're having to look further into it. And most likely why we never heard back from the background check in 2020 was because something California didn't put it in the system right or did something wrong. And chances are this is going to go the 30 days without getting an answer back, a yes or no answer. So we're like, what the heck can we do about this? If I never get answers back, I can't buy guns. And he suggests, or he tells me, he sends my wife, emails my wife a form. I got to go get some fingerprints and fill out this form and send in my fingerprints and fill out this form, and they'll give you what's called a UPEN number. Which, funny enough, when I was filling out my 4473, I came across that question, do you have a UPEN number? And I'm like, what in the F is this? And the guy's like, if you got to ask that question, you don't got one. Well, it's to show that whatever issue there has been resolved. And it's not just for like misdemeanors or crimes or something. Like some people have similar names or addresses or something. Like this happens, like these delays happen, I guess. Everyone was pretty chill about it. They were kind of like, it happens, no big deal. I'm stressing out thinking I'm in some more trouble or I still got something on my record. And like, it's, it happens kind of thing. And so now I got to go down and get fingerprinted and get this UPEN number and stuff like that. So good news is I'm not in any more trouble. I didn't lie on a federal document or anything like that, but it's just a kick in the butt that your past can come back to haunt you. And how when you don't think about your future ever. I always lived in the moment and never thought of or was concerned about my future, how it comes back around. And so now I got to go through all this stuff, and the government shut down. So that was another reason why we thought it was delayed. We're like, oh, because the government shut down. But there was a lady in front of me who bought a firearm like that and was done and out of there. So we thought maybe it was due to the government shutdown. In fact, when you go to the ATF website, it says due to the Democrats, the federal government is shut down. So updating all the website stuff, it may take longer than usual. Which brings me to now, this guy said, don't send it through the mail because the mail is delayed because the government shut down. And so now I got to go get fingerprinted and we're going to send them all the information. And it could take up to like 60 days to get this UPEN number. So this is a huge inconvenience. It's a huge headache. It's frustrating. I was really excited the other day to get a new firearm. I want to start getting into competition shooting. So I've been pretty pumped on that. And it's just, you can't escape your past sometimes. It's always there. And, when in the moment, it's something I didn't care about and whatever, this won't affect me later in life. And you don't realize how much, I thought I was going to lose my right to buy firearms ever again. Yesterday, I thought that I lied on this form and they were going to be like, you're lying about your past to illegally obtain a firearm, and they were going to stick me with a felony and make it to where I could never buy a firearm again. That was where my head was at yesterday. It's a scary thought. And it just makes me really reflect on all the bad decisions I made. And fortunate for me, my aunts bailed me out. more times I wouldn't have this future right now if it wasn't for her. And it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Always getting bailed out of trouble doesn't really teach you a whole lot, but it's given me a second chance. You know, I would have lost the right to go hunting. I would have lost the right to coach my kid's soccer team. I would have lost my right to vote. I would have lost a lot of rights had it not been for her, my attorney. So I'm very grateful for that. But it's really made me reflect on the past and just want to remind everyone out there, especially these young kids, you know, that are showing up to these protests and throwing rocks through ICE buildings. You may, right now, you're angry and you're raw and you're a kid and you did not looking forward to the future, but you may one day turn your life around and kind of outgrow those things and lose all those rights. Or you may not lose them, but it's going to be a headache to get them back. Like what I'm dealing with right now, having to go get fingerprinted and do all this crap in order to get all this stuff taken care of. You know, it's going to cost me another couple $100. And on top of the thousands I've already spent up until this point, trying to keep my ass out of trouble. So, just a good reminder. Good reminder. Well, here's to not being back in jail.